everyone, my name is Kiana, and I am the Program Director at College to Congress.
Hi everyone, my name is Marah. I'm also from College to Congress. I'm the Program and Data Coordinator. We're so excited to share with you today's session, which is finding and sharing your why.
So to start off, I want you all to find an object that relates to or represents your new or desired internship. It can be in the room that you're in, or it could be an object that just comes to you in your mind. For example, I chose this coffee cup and it says, "Do what you love." I chose this object because I'm actually the newest member of College to Congress's team, and I feel like knowledge is being poured into me every single day, but I love it, and that's why I chose this cup. So if everyone can think of your idea, your object, and then type it into the chat along with a brief explanation of how it relates to your internship.
My plane ticket to DC because I start the 24th and I'm excited for our new adventure and experience.
Love it.
A book on my desk. I like yours, Anne. I have a glass of water. Got to remember to take care of yourself in a busy internship.
All right, so I'll switch to the next one. Find an object that represents an important part of who you are. So in this instance, I would actually say my cell phone. And that's because communication is very, very important to me in life, in work, in relationships, basically every aspect of my life. Communication is very, very key for me for success. So that's why my phone is very important to me. So if everyone could do the same and just choose one thing that kind of represents who you are. All right, Marah, if you could just go over a couple of them, that would be great.
You guys are a lot cooler than I am. Someone's words, like I can't even ride a bike. Like my moon necklace, I always wear knowing that the day will pass to live in the moment and tomorrow is a brand new day. I like that. My planner represents how organized I am. My pencil, a key part of my daily efforts and achievements. My phone is where I communicate as well, but it's also as my calendar and my daily to-do list to stay organized. I can agree with that.
Yes, yes, yes.
There's a lot of good ones in here.
So really the reason that we did this is to get you thinking about who you are and how what you do represents who you are. Overall, understanding this will allow you to have more beneficial connections with others. So to kick off our Telling Your Whys session, I'm going to start off with reading a couple quotes. So Apple's why statement, their mission statement is, "We aim to challenge the status quo. We aim to think differently." Airbnb is to connect millions of people in real life all over the world through a community marketplace so that you can belong anywhere. I love that. I'll go straight to Google. To organize the world's information and to make it universally accessible and useful. And I'll read Microsoft. To empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more. I love these quotes. These quotes are very, very important because each one explains the company's purpose and why they do what they do. It's important for you all because as you get started with your internships, there are going to be days where you may be on the phone with constituents for 8 hours, and maybe they haven't been nice to you that day. And you may get a little confused about why you decided to do public service and why you decided to work in DC. I've had those days, and I'm sure Marah has had those days while she worked in the Senate. And really, you have to take a step back and say, okay, I'm here because I believe in this, or I'm here because my story allows me to be here and serve others, or whatever the reason is that you decided to be here.
What is the importance of telling your why? So I think the first reason why it's important is because for me personally, it motivates me. Knowing what you want to do will be your motivation when things are great, when things are terrifying, and honestly, when things are uncertain. The second reason why it's important is because it will serve you kind of like as a roadmap. Your why will often just like help you with what path to take when there is a fork in the road. For example, if you're like deciding between two future opportunities, you can kind of look back at your why to help you decide. And then the third reason why it's important is because understanding and communicating your why will drive you to spaces that align overall with just like your happiness in life. So not only is your why your power when it comes to staying focused on your career goals and your drive for serving others, but it's also how you get folks around you to really rally for you and believe in you. And I think that's something that's very, very important in DC. Everyone here has an amazing and interesting story. By sharing that story in a way that is compelling and powerful, you were able to convince people, and they might come back and say like, hey, I should help this person accelerate in their career. Your why really truly is just overall your power, especially if you are starting off in a career, because let's face it, there's going to be so many interns, and you really want to be someone who is the one that's just setting yourself apart from everyone else. Some, like if you do set yourself apart from others, they might be like, yeah, she doesn't have a lot, or he or she does not have a lot of experience, but they have something in them that I can tell, and like it sets them apart from others, and they will remember you. We're going to kind of get into like practicing your why later in this session, and we're going to have time like to self-reflect and kind of like workshop them. So tip number one that I have before that is just being authentic. I think that's very important. If you are telling a story that you don't have a lot of conviction, or if you just told your story so many times where you yourself are bored of your own narrative, people are going to know. You kind of want to come in and be able to share a story that people can connect to. And honestly, if you think about it, like the reason that we share stories overall, like, is to find common humanity with each other. You could have polar opposite political beliefs or polar opposite lived experiences, and still come together somehow through storytelling, or at least allow there to be like just empathy in this space. So if you tap into your own passion, your anger, your hope, or just your own emotions and emotions that are deeply connected to your own lived experiences, you will connect with your listeners. And that's not me saying you need to shed a tear while saying your why. It's not me saying you should share something that you're not comfortable sharing, of course. We don't need to go around just like sharing traumas or experiences that we're not comfortable sharing, just to get people just to believe in us. That's not what this is about. This is overall just about letting people authentically know just who you are and sharing things that you feel comfortable sharing. And also this can change in like different settings. For instance, if you say, for instance, you get in the elevator with a member, your why might sound a little bit different than if you're sharing it with a fellow intern in your office. You might connect your why with policy versus with an intern. You connect it to this, like, this is what I want to do, and this is the life I've lived. So it can change kind of just based on the situation, but you want to have something kind of mapped out beforehand. You don't want to just kind of say anything. So my tip number 2 is to practice. Tell people your story and get feedback. Part of our session today, we'll be doing that, but you can also do this with other interns in your office. And I'm sure the C2C team can always schedule something like on the side and just practice sharing your story. And also you want to refine your why. So as you're sharing your story, and this is also something like that you've done in college, I'm assuming like everyone's written an essay and stuff in college. Sometimes you write or say something in your head and you're like, oh, I meant this, and it might have come across this way. So you want to get feedback to make sure like it comes across the correct way. Some of the questions like you can ask while practicing and just getting feedback is, what was the most moving? Or is there anything else that you wanted me to know that I didn't tell you, or I didn't dive into enough detail with? Did you feel connected with me? Why or why not? So overall, I think just the more you practice, the better you are going to get at this. Lastly, tip number 3, I think, is just being brief. You don't want to don't be that person that holds someone hostage there for 10 minutes. They're not going to care. You really want to condense it. And if you tell your why very briefly and you allow the person just to ask questions, then you can eventually grow it to like 10 or whatever minutes. Yeah, so I think that's really just a couple tips that I have just for your why. And now I'm going to pass it back over to Kiana.
Thank you. So finding your why. So how do you find your why in life? Well, I can tell you how you will not find it. The first way is just by sitting in a chair by a window and just waiting for someone to tell you what it is and what it should be. The next thing is you'll just randomly have this eureka moment and it'll just come to you miraculously and you're like, this is it. This is what it is. And lastly, please do not copy someone else's why in their life. In order to really just find your why and who you are and why you want to do what you do, you really just have to take a metaphorical shovel and just dig deep into your conscious mind. And your question may be, so how do you start digging? How do you find, what this is? Well, we'll give you some answers. So we have a few questions that you can, take a pen and some paper and kind of write down your answers to a few of these questions. So one way to do it is to say, what lived experience brought you here? How did these experiences make you who you are today? And when you're struggling, what helps you get through? Why are you doing what you're doing? That's a great question. And what do you hope to do as a result of this experience, of your internship, of you coming to DC or in a district office, wherever? Why are you doing it? And then why is this experience a part of your greater purpose? So I am going to ask Marah to share her why in a brief 2 minutes to kind of give you a good framework of, how to think of these questions and answer these questions.
Okay, yeah. So I am the daughter of immigrant parents. I was raised by my single mother. My mother, growing up, really prioritized and valued education. But while she was growing up, she was never really on the good side of kind of just like receiving a good education. My mom never went to college because her family couldn't afford it. And there aren't any financial programs in Lebanon, where she's from, like we have here in the United States. So as I was growing up, education was a very big thing in my family. And I didn't realize the sacrifices my mother took to put me and my 4 sisters in a good school district. Honestly, looking back, I think we can probably say that we're the poorest people in like the school, I guess you could say. But it's funny to look back and just see kind of like where like my mom's priorities were. But I didn't realize any of this until I got to college and I got my first semester bill. And I realized that I had like scholarships and whatnot. And I was like very proud of myself. And I was looking around me and I noticed that my like other students didn't get as many scholarships as I did. And I was really shocked because I had this self-narrative that I did it all on my own because getting good grades in high school and I gone into college all on my own. But upon realizing that students were not getting the same education I got, I realized that no, I didn't do it on my own. And I really did benefit from the school district that I was in. And I benefited because my mother, being lucky about being aware about just like school systems in general, I really did get lucky about that. So while in college, I applied to internships on the Hill and was offered positions where I had to turn down because of the stipend amount that was being paid to interns. The stipends were nowhere near going to cover my rent. There's no way I could accept it. And so when COVID started 2 years ago, I saw it as the perfect opportunity for me. So I applied for a virtual internship and accepted my offer because I knew at that time that I wouldn't be in DC and I could afford it. And my experience really overall, I think just trying to get an internship is what led me to work on the Hill full time and want to fight for those marginalized voices and vulnerable populations. If you really just come from a background like mine, where your family doesn't have a lot of money and political connections, it's really hard to get your foot in the door. And I truly do believe that people that have a background like mine deserve a seat at the table. Yeah, so that is kind of like my why and what I do.
Thank you so much for sharing, Marah. Okay, so I want all of you to take 4 minutes or so to jot down your notes to craft your why using these questions. Don't worry, we're not going to ask you guys to share in front of the whole group. We have 1 more minute. So I just want to say thank you all for attending today's session. We hope that it was beneficial and that you were able to start crafting your why statements. If you have any questions about college to Congress or about telling your why, please feel free to reach out. And thank you and good luck to everyone.